I mean, certainly you would have had, giants before the flood. They would be making war against humans. They would have been actually making war against perhaps God as well if they had the capability of doing that. It's interesting in the if and hopefully I've understood the question properly. There's a book called the Enoch Book of Giants. It's part of the series. And what's interesting in that accounting, and we don't get a lot of it because we only have fragments, but it's talking about an antediluvian Gilgamesh versus a post-diluvian Gilgamesh, which is another interesting thing that people need to be aware of, that you can have giants with the same names on both sides of the flood. So you have to
Yeah.
understand when the flood happens and who the gods are, and the difference between the offspring gods and the parent gods. But Gilgamesh is part of the giants who is understanding and receiving that through these dreams, and they're trying to get it interpreted by Enoch as to what they can do to avoid the catastrophe that's coming. And he's told that you can't avoid it. So he makes war against the sons of God. He makes wars against the angels. And he loses the war, but he actually makes war against the loyal angels. The sons of God, typically in the Old Testament, and I think Heiser, and I've not read any of his work, but I think Heiser was pretty much saying those were angels as well. We get sons of God that show up in Job 1:6 and 2:1, and they are reporting to this assembly in heaven. That's also recorded in Isaiah 14 that Satan wanted to overthrow, wanted to raise his throne up, and Antichrist will try and do that again. And Daniel 8 through 10 actually brings down some of the starry host. So this is an ongoing, nothing new is under the sun sort of concept. And so this assembly is where the sons of God in Job 1 and Job 2 are reporting to, and Satan tags along, and he's one of the sons of God, now degraded at this point. And then what's really interesting is Job's 38, 4 through 7, you have the morning stars, which is an order of angels, and the sons of God are celebrating at creation. So humans are not created before the heavens and the earth are, but Psalms 104 tells us the angels are. You have four different terms that are used interchangeably and together throughout the Old Testament. You have the sons of God as being angels, and you have them equated with stars in Job 38, and the host of heaven, which is the Hebrew word Saba for an army, which rank in order of all these different orders of angels. And you also have angels that are called the host. You have them used interchangeably so that you know they are the same type of being. The Old Testament also calls Israel the son of God or the children of God. And in Hosea, you have that reference. Those are prophecies for the second Exodus when they're going to be brought back into the covenant. So it's got nothing to do with the Old Testament. So yes, I think you could make a good argument. And I liked your point there that you could create Adam as a specific son of God, but different than the angels, because he has immortality for a while, but only as long as he has access to the tree of life. Yeah, and he's born a physical creature, right? Angels are created a spirit being who can take a physical creature in the physical world. And we know that they can do that because we see angels like in the Sodom story and just before, when the angel of the Lord makes himself into a body and two angels are with them. So we know that they have the ability to do that. That's just one example, and there are others. So but I think he's created as a son of God, but as a mortal one seeking immortality that is designed for the resolution of the angelic rebellion. So you have angels who were created immortal, intimate knowledge of God, and many rebelled. It's like, wow, how could that be, right? But it's true. So humans are created immortal, the ability to become mortal, but we have very little knowledge of God. And we have to choose God on faith to achieve the resurrection and to get our immortality to be created like angels. And because the fallen angels recognized the significance of the creation of Adam versus the ones in day 6, they immediately start to try and make sure that humankind from Adam is going to be destroyed from the face of the earth and into oblivion and never have a chance to be raised up to be like angels. Whereas the people in day 6, they just sort of led them astray, and they become worshipers of those fallen angelic realm. And the giants are created as part of the same story to lead them away from God, to ensure that they're not going to achieve immortality. And again, what none of them realized, none of the giants, none of their descendants, and none of the angels, was the resurrection. And if that was the case, they would have ensured Christ wasn't crucified. Yes, it's part of the Dead Sea Scrolls, and it's part of a series of books as well. And it seems to be a piece. Or there's books that are based on the original Book of Giants. It's hard to know. So there's a Manichaean Book of Giants, which is taking the old information from that they would have had a bigger manuscript of than what we get out of the Dead Seas, that they overlaid the Persian story, which is the same story, has different names of the characters, but it's telling the same story, and they call that the Manichaean Book of Giants. Mani was a Gnostic in the time, just before Christ, and creating of Manichaeism, a Gnostic religion. And he was a collector of these books and things. And so he's the one that is thought to have put that together. And the Vatican apparently has these books, and we think they've released part of that, whether or not the translation is accurate or not. But part of that series of books is the Lost Book of King Og, that an author named Demon translated, which is part of the Manichaean Book of Giants, according to what the priest and Demon say in the introduction, and it's part of a larger book that they have at the Vatican.